Alvin Henry Sellers was born on November 6, 1917, to George and Jessie Sellers in Rice County, Minnesota. To us, he was a father, grandfather, and husband. But for over 11 years, Alvin Henry Sellers was also a dedicated professional soldier. His life in the Army began in 1935, long before the war, when he was just 18. He built his career and his family at the same time, marrying our grandmother, Viola Anderson, in 1940. As the world went to war, his experience was needed. He served statewide while his young family grew with the births of Alvin Jr. and Robert. We even have a cherished recording he sent home to Viola from the post in Louisiana, titled "A Message from Your Man in Service." In 1945, he was deployed as a staff sergeant to the Pacific, seeing combat and the liberation of the Philippines. After the war, he returned to Minnesota, but his call to service continued. He served in the National Guard and re-enlisted in the regular Army one last time before his final honorable discharge in 1949. He came home to his family in Northfield. His 11-year military chapter closed, but his legacy as a father and a proud veteran endured. He passed away in 1977 and is laid to rest in Fort Snelling.
To come out, so I left the first part of July with one of the other girls was going out to meet her boyfriend, and Al was in Fort Washington, Vancouver Barracks, Washington, and this other girl's boyfriend was up in Fort Fort Lewis. And so we rode the train all the way out to when we first came into Washington, and she had to get off the train to go to Fort Lewis, and then I went around to Vancouver and worked for, well, Al told me that it was Major Salzman, but he wasn't a major yet, he was just a captain. I got caught calling him major one time, and I got corrected on it. And I got caught talking to Mrs. Salzman, and I called her Grace because that was her name. And then I got called on that too, because in the service you didn't call them by their first names, you called them by Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
and whatever their proper name was.
Oh, they didn't have their own identities then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and of course, and Al, I was a maid, and I remember polishing silver out there one day, and I was polishing away on it. The major says, use a little more elbow grease. And so I polished a little harder, and he said, you know, I had someone working for me one time, and I told them to do that, and they asked me where I kept it. The major was a pretty good cook. I said I made goulash, and I thought that was great, but they didn't care for it. So after that, the major started cooking.
And you and Dad weren't married at that point?
No, we got married, and I was out there the first part of July, August. And we applied for, we had to wait for 2 or 3 months, and so we applied for a marriage license, and then the first of the second.
But the major didn't know, or the captain didn't know you weren't married?
No, they didn't know that.
They assumed you were married.
Yeah, they knew I had Butch. And I said he was home with my mother, which he was.
And how old was Butch at that time, 2? Oh yeah, he must have been 2. He's born in February, 38.
38, yeah, and this was 40.
So he was 2.
And well then, they, when was it, in 40, 41, oh, Jim was 41, so I couldn't do it. The latter part of 40, the major captain went to Fort Benning, Georgia to get his major promotion there, and they were shipped up to Fort Lewis, Washington, and they had Alvin stay behind, and they put him on, what was it, duty for, I can't remember what that was, it was guard, like a guard, and so him and Mrs. Salzman sat in the front seat, and I and the dog, Fury, sat in the back seat, and we drove to Fort Lewis, Washington, and we lived right above the river, or we drove to Olympia. It was right above, and Olympia is the capital, and we lived up above the river. I can't remember the river.
Is that where you were married?
We were married, yeah, we were married in Vancouver on the 2nd of October in the priest's house. And there happened to be a couple that used to live in Minnesota that stood up for us. And then we went to Portland, Oregon on our honeymoon overnight in the hotel. And then we moved up to, well, we went to, what's the name of that place? They had bathing suits, but it's the same name. Jansen Beach. We used to go down there and go on picnics and stuff down there. And then went over to Portland, and my Aunt Josephine's sister lived over there. And she was married to a Peterson that was a neighbor of ours when I lived in Faribault. And we used to go to her place a lot. And then we went up to Fort Lewis, to Olympia. We lived right next door to a doctor, and I went to him and had my tonsils out, and spit up the sink, and he said to me they had to get the plumber, and I was the only one that ever plugged up his sink, and he said, I tell you one thing, girl, you'll never bleed to death because your blood coagulates so fast. And then while we were there, we went to a dance and met Duke Ellington and Ivy Anderson. There's another guy there that played in the band. And we sat next to the band on the table there, and during the intermission they came over and talked to us. And Ivy and this other guy said, you know, when we go down and play in the southern part of the states, we can't eat with the rest of people. We have to go out in the kitchen and eat, because they were black, you know. And so and then I got Duke Ellington signed his name on the back of one of Al's things that he had to get out to. They had to have passes, and he had signed his name on that, and I still have it.
Oh, do you really?
Mary's eyeing it, but she ain't getting it.
You hear that, Mary? It's mine.
I'm taking it with me.
Well, that's neat.
And,
That's wonderful, yeah.
yeah, and I can't remember some of the names of the songs. And
Did you and Dad dance then?
oh yeah, we danced. Some of the other guys went with us. That was in the service too.
Is that what's called now swing dance?
Probably was. Then Al was transferred to Camp Roberts, California, and I went down by bus there. And when I got there, we lived with it's Helen Hunt was her name. We lived in a little place there. There was 2 different families living there, and we had a bedroom and a kitchen, and shared a bath with another couple. Then Al was transferred to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and so I came home first then, and And I stayed with my parents and with Al's parents, and then on the first part of, well, I stayed with Jess and Elmer. And first part of December, I was going to go and join Al at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. And Al's mother, Jessie, said, "You go up to the doctor's office and see if it's safe for you to travel at this time." So I went up, and he told me if he was my wife, you wouldn't be traveling. I come home, "Oh yeah, it's okay to go." And
I'm
so-
assuming you were pregnant.
With
Yeah.
Junior. Well,
Yeah,
he
with
was born
Junior.
the 12th.
Yeah, this was 1st of December, and I went down by train. And Junior was born out there. Al took me out. And, I don't know, he must have bought, no, we went, I can't remember if we went out by bus or if he took me out in somebody's car or something. Anyway, Junior was born on December 12th, 1941. Then we moved, after he was a few months old, we moved to another place that we had. It was on the 2nd floor. Brick building. I had some pictures of that one too. Not far from the fire and rescue deal down there. Then in 1940, February was 8th, right? Bobby was born at the hospital there. But before that, I had gone out by ambulance because I had some back pains and thought I was expecting, so I went out there. But it was just that I'd eaten something the night before and it didn't agree with me, so I came back home again. And then I had the same doctor that I had for Junior.
Good evening, folks. Carol Hewitt of the Pepsi-Cola Company coming to you from Service Club on at Camp Lachey. We have with us Alvin Sellers tonight with a message for Mrs. Alvin Sellers.
Hello, darling. This is a lot better than that telephone call I made last night. Hey, by the way, be sure and get me watch fixed. Tell the boys hello. I'll sure be glad I come home and hear Bobby talk with Junior. And when you see Bobby, be sure you let him hear this record also. Remember, it's the record that we made down at the house for the last party that we had. When you get back home and see Mom, be sure and get our insignias because they mean a lot more to us than they would to the people that have them. Quickly running out of words and didn't make it up. But I hope to see you very shortly. If I don't see you, darling, I love you very much. Be sure and kiss my boy and give them a big hug for me. Bye now.
And then when we moved back, Al got transferred to Charleston, South Carolina. So I went in and used the phone and called my folks. And then I started walking down and Paul came along and then took me up to the hospital and I had Rick and he was born August 8th, 1945 at St. Nicholas Hospital. And then there was Junior and Bobby and I and Rick. And, we lived there till Al came home from the service. Well, Al went over to the Philippines then, and he was in the service over there. Floyd was in the service over there too. And then he came home and let's see, he was 45, I think it was. If he was born in August, yeah. Al came home, I think it was October, sometime. It wasn't too long after Rick was born. And he worked. They had a bunch of the guys got together and put in $100 and started a shop down there where they made things out of wood. The Faribault, well, they have it out on Highway on 21 now. The Faribault Manufacturing Company they have. But they had that one downtown to start out with. It was upstairs. And Al's brother Bob worked up there with them. And some of the kids I went to school with. And then he got a job at Carleton College and at the gymnasium. And we moved to Northfield and we lived in the south end of the stadium. And Earl Baldwin and his family lived in the north end. And Earl took care of the field there where they played football and all that. And then they had a place they called Pine Hill, but there wasn't any room for us up there for a while, so we lived there. And then we moved up to Pine Hill, and Mary was born up there.
February 10th?
10th, yeah. 1948. And then we lived up at Pine Hill. And Mary was little and was the baby there. And that's when I met George. First time I met George, and that was Al's dad. And he came in from where was it? It was Arizona, yeah. He lived up in Arizona. He came up and I think he gave the boys each a silver dollar, or he gave one of them a silver dollar. And then Al decided he was going back in the service again. So he went back in the service, and I moved down with Jess and Elmer for a little while, and then I moved up and back of Floyd and Marie's. That's where Jeannie was born. And, she was born December 22nd, 1953 at the Northville Hospital. Oh, he was going to go back to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, because I thought, well, that'd be a nice place to be, you know. And he decided that he didn't want to be in the service anymore or something. And he got out. I can't remember. I know he had some surgery when he was in the service, but I can't remember if that's when he had it. He got a medical discharge anyway. And he came back here, and we lived in up there on Linden Street for a while, and then we moved down to Water Street. And Elaine, yeah, you were born down there on October 13th, 1957. We lived there, and then I started working for at Young's Dining Room for Mr. Road, and worked there for a while. And Al was in and out of the hospital with his feet. I don't remember if that's when he started working for Dale Young, painting. His mother died when we were down there, because I remember he got the freezer, he got the freezer, and we couldn't get that in the house. We just got it on the front porch, and didn't stay there too long, just stayed there long enough for us to use up all the meat and stuff that was in it. Then Al decided he was going to sell it to somebody because he wanted to go fishing. So he sold it to somebody. I can't remember who it was. He went fishing. Fishing. And Macy was born in 1962, August 14th at the Northville Hospital. And we lived there until Al died. Oh yeah, Al, when he came home from the service, he took lessons out at the airport out at Stanton Airport, and I went up with him once, and I took Ricky along. We had Ralphie Manuel's harness, and I put it on because these were open cockpit planes, and he was flying all around, and I didn't want him to do any loopity-loops, so I took him up, and we flew over Lake Billsby and around, and it was really nice. He didn't do any loopity-loopies. Bud McCorkle was one of the instructors out there, and he used to pick Al up and take him out. And we lived on Pine Hill at that time, and in the wintertime they come in on skis, and he rode out with Bud, and then Bud would come up sometimes and bring him in and land with the skis on the back and on some of the open fields back there. Then I think he did fly with pontoons once and landed on the Lake Billsby, I think, but I'm not for sure. And he used to go hunting with Bud McCorkle and Manuel. They go fox hunting in the plane, and they'd see the fox, and they'd land the plane and shoot. I don't know if they ever got any fox or not, but I ain't seen it. As a little afterthought, I happened to think about our insignias that we have down to the VFW. During the war, wherever we went, I had a razor blade with me, and we would buy these guys a drink and go over and cut the little insignia off of their shoulder. And then they had the metal ones too. That would take 2 drinks. And we got those, and wherever we went around, and that's where we collected all our insignias from wherever we started out all through. And they first place they went was downtown. I think it was Miltary or somebody had a place down there, and Mr. Jacobson up here made a showcase for him, and we used the curtain off of the Grand Theater that they were dismantling at that time. It was maroon, and they had that on the back, and we had on one side it was the metal ones, and on the other side it was the ones from the cloth ones. And then Al had it over at Cannon Falls at one time too, in the VFW hall over there. And then we had it, I think it was in Faribault at the VFW hall there. And then we brought it down here, and it's at the VFW hall. And as I always told the kids, when I go, I want them to say this little ditty for me.
Oh, no, we're
Always
not.
Mary, never glum. She chews her daily gum. And
That one.
that was what I had in my school book when I graduated. And the other one was, I don't know what was after. That one I really wanted to say.
We won't say.
Let's be happy, let's be gay, let's be glad she passed away. And
See,
then
Mother, we won't say that.
from then on, take care of your family. Bury me up there with Al. I get top billing.
Fly
And
way
come up
the
there.
street.
For Christmas, put a wreath on the grave, and just be happy. Take care of your family. Visit me once a year when you put the wreath on the grave.
This video is a heartfelt effort to place together the timeline of Alvin Henry Sellers. It was created using the personal paperwork, photos, insignia, loving combined with cherished family stories and best information we have at this time. While we have included dates and descriptions from any marked photos, please note that they may not all be in perfect chronological order. This video was made for our family in deep love, with deep love and respect. Thank you, Alvin Henry Sellers, for your service. We love you.